All right, welcome back to another Michael Volpe Investigates special report. I'm here with Amelia Martinez. Amelia, how old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay, and I did a story about your mom and your dad's case.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through the story, but about 3 years ago when you were 13, there was an incident that's really important to your child to the custody case. So describe that incident as I scroll through this story.
Okay. Well, do you want me to start from the very beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess is kind of everything kind of happened after my parents separated and my dad and I were like really close. And then he started dating a new woman, Tammy, and he became very close with her and kind of neglected me and my sisters. We lived with him every other weekend. He would not spend a lot of time with us. He would leave us with all in the weekends that we were designated with him. He would leave us to go on trips with her. He like lived at her house practically. And this was right after school had gone out, and my dad and I had gotten to an argument. And this was on, I think, a Thursday or Friday night. And we got into an argument because he got mad that I took my phone upstairs into the bathroom. And he got mad because I didn't give it to him fast enough, but I couldn't, because he had asked me to slide it under the door, and I couldn't because the it was just so far away. So we got
Mhm.
into an argument, and he started screaming at me, and I remember asking so many times, can we just call my therapist at the time? And I was like, can we just talk about this? Can we just work this out? Because he had also gone home and he was mad because I had makeup on, and he was like, why are you wearing makeup? Blah, blah, blah. And he was getting mad about that. And he locked me outside of the house, and I had to crawl through the doggy door to get back in. And we got into another argument, and he told me, Amelia, don't you ever just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. And I threw water on him, which I don't think was the best idea. I was just so upset. Um,
This is
and
after he swore at you.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
That's after he swore at you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't think I was just really angry.
Mhm.
And so then the next day on Saturday, everyone, okay, wait, that was on Thursday. This is on Friday. So everyone was at school.
Mhm.
And I had taken my phone, which was not the best idea. I think now looking back, I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have taken my phone. But I just wanted to be able to call anyone or call my mom if anything ever happened. Because there are a lot of times where he wouldn't let us talk to my mom or things like that.
Mhm.
And they were at work, and he came home, and I guess he found out that my phone was gone. He asked me about it, and I was like, I don't know where it is. And he wanted me to go to my grandma's house, and I didn't want to go. And so we got into an argument, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm in a shower. And so I'm in the shower, washing my hair, and the door is locked. And he gets really, really upset and angry, and he is running at the door. He body slams the door down, is full on sprinting at the door. He body slams the door down, and then he pulls back the shower curtain, and I'm fully naked, like I'm 13, fully
Mhm.
naked, and he takes a towel and he wraps it around me, and I'm so upset. I'm screaming at him, and he picks me up and he carries me downstairs, and he puts me in his car. And we are driving to my grandma's house, and he lives in Pearland, Texas. And so I don't know if you know where that is. I forgot you don't live in Texas. But
Mhm.
we drove 30 minutes from
Mhm.
a far
And
place to my grandma's house.
Maryland, for those who don't know, is a suburb of Houston. Is that
Yeah.
fair way to describe it? All right, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So we drove 30 minutes to my grandma's house, and I'm just sitting there in a towel, and I was so
He
upset.
made you get in the car just in a towel
Yes,
to go to your grandma's at 13. All right, go
he
ahead.
forcefully put me in the
Forcefully.
car. Yeah.
Right.
I did
Okay.
not want to go. He picked me up.
Right.
And outside in front of all of the neighbors' houses, I was just sitting there with a towel on.
Hmm.
And we're driving, and we get into an argument, and we're outside of my grandma's house because she isn't home yet, and we're waiting for her to get home. And I made some decisions I probably should not have made. I threw his card out the window or something. We were parked though.
Hmm.
And I ripped up some of his papers, and he got really, really mad. And so he held my hands down. My hands were
Hmm.
like this on the
Hmm.
like I forget what it's called, center console, and
Hmm.
my towel falls down. And so
And now
I'm,
you're naked in the middle of the street, not in the middle of the street,
yes,
but
yes.
outside in the car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm naked without my top on,
Hmm.
and like the towel had fallen down, and I kept asking my dad, like, okay, I won't rip up any of your papers. Please just let me pull up my towel. Like I'm naked. Like I was just so like mortified. Like this is my father. Like
Hmm. I
I'm just
understand.
sitting there topless.
Hmm.
And he doesn't let go. And so I started biting him and scratching him, and he still didn't let go so I could pull up my towel until my grandma came home.
Hmm.
And then later that night, it's a Saturday night, he told me he wanted me to come downstairs. And he said that we need to have a conversation. And I was like, I don't want to have a conversation. Like, I don't feel safe being with you.
Hmm.
And he was like, why all of this stuff? And then I got mad at him because he like had pulled me out of the shower. And I remember his girlfriend Tammy said that it's not a big deal and that he's my father and he's allowed to look at me naked whenever he wants.
Hmm.
And
How do you feel about that?
I mean, what the hell? Who thinks that? Like what?
Right.
That is
Hmm.
that is just like so wrong in so many levels.
Hmm.
And so we got into an argument. I said, I'm not going in there. I don't want to go in your room. And he was like, we need to have a private conversation. And this everyone was upstairs in their own rooms, and my stepsister was outside. The older one was outside talking to her dad on the phone.
Hmm.
And the other one was like upstairs, and my little sister
And
was sleeping.
stepsister, is that your girlfriend, your dad's girlfriend's daughter, you
Yeah,
mean?
she
Oh,
has two kids. Yeah.
okay. And they're married now, so that's why you say stepsister, because they've
Yeah.
got married since then. Okay, go ahead.
And so we got into a like an argument, and so he pulls me in from the kitchen into his room because his room is like right by the kitchen door, and
Hmm.
his girlfriend Tammy is sitting on the bed watching all of this happen.
Hmm.
And we started like fighting. I tried to run out, and he just kept throwing me back. And I tried running up again, and he pulls me, he's like this like couch kind of like chair in his like his room.
Hmm.
And I mean, she's just sitting watching the whole thing, doesn't say one word during
Hmm.
this. And he pulls me on, and I'm trying to kick up to get back out and run out. And he takes my knee and he holds it like I'm like laying like this, and he shoves it into my face repeatedly and repeatedly. And
All
I
right.
could
So
just,
it sounds like you're describing the technical term for an assault.
yes,
Okay.
he,
All right. And
yes, and
the cops were called later that day.
yes.
Okay. All right.
And
So
and so
let's
I
fast forward. The cops get called. What happens after and this is Pearland Police Department, which is a
yeah.
suburb again.
Well, I had kicked him after
Hmm.
it happened. I kicked him in the nuts.
Hmm.
And
You kicked him afterwards to protect
yes,
yourself. You guys
yes.
were both fighting with each other, but you just described an assault from an adult to
Yes,
you.
and I was trying to run out, and I
Hmm.
was just trying to get away.
Hmm.
And the police came because after my sister and I had told my mom, we found my sister's school iPad because both of us didn't have our phones or anything. And we told
Hmm.
my mom about it, and my dad, we sent her pictures of my face, and my face was so red, and he had slammed me against the door frame like later on when my sister had tried to help me, and my whole entire side of my leg was bright red too.
Hmm.
And my mom was like, what the hell happened? And she tried calling my dad. My dad wouldn't pick up. And so she did like a welfare check basically
Hmm.
for the police.
Hmm.
And so the police come, and I'm outside right now. Like I'm outside in the backyard. They're in the front yard. My dad and Tammy answered the door to the cops. And
Hmm.
I'm outside, and I'm talking to my stepsister's dad, and I told him what happened, and he was like, Amelia, you need to like go talk to the cops first because like they're not gonna believe you. So I go out, and I'm like, I introduce myself to the police officers. I'm like, hi, I'm Amelia.
Hmm.
And they said, go back inside. We're not talking to you yet. So they
Hmm.
proceed to talk to my dad and my dad's girlfriend for an hour.
Hmm.
And then they pull me outside.
And how
And
long did they talk to you for?
5, 10 minutes max.
Yes.
They
Right.
didn't believe a thing I said, and I'm sitting there
There
crying.
was a witness to this, right?
Yes, my sister.
Right? Did they talk to her?
Yes, no, for like a small bit, and then
But they
also
did. Okay.
the two stepsisters heard the whole thing, and one
Okay.
of them had to come out and get me from the room. That's how it all ended.
Okay, so what happened as a result of that? I'm sure they took your dad out in handcuffs, charged him with assault. Is that what happened?
Nope.
No, what happened?
Well, he pressed charges on me and I ended up going to jail.
You went on to the juvenile hall, and how long did you spend in juvenile hall?
One night, so 2 days.
One night. How anything you remember about juvie? Want to tell
Yes.
people?
It
What?
was it was the worst thing ever. Like everything you see in movies, like you get strip searched, you're like violated. My dad told him that I was a sociopath. And so they put me on suicide watch. So I didn't even get clothes to wear. And this was during COVID. And so it was solitary confinement. So you're in your cell for 23 hours. You get 1 hour to sit by yourself, like
Mhm,
in a room or something. And then
mhm.
the next day, I mean, I was in shackles too.
You were in shackles, and you were 13.
Yes.
And this is as a result of your dad. And what is your relationship with your dad now?
There is not one.
All right, and this incident is the main reason. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
now some people will say you're 16 now with one incident. How come you can't put it past you? How come you can't let it go?
Well, I think there's a lot of small incidents leading also up to that incident where he like left me and my sisters home alone for 6 hours and we were really young and I genuinely thought like he got kidnapped. I was about to call the police. Or he would lock me in my room for hours and feed me food underneath like the door and wouldn't let me use the bathroom. Or he would become really aggressive with us. So I think
All
that
right,
it
so this was one of several incidents. And has your
was
dad ever acknowledged them, apologized to you for them?
No, he more like in the therapy sessions, he more says, "Well, I did this because you did this." Or
Right,
he
right,
like to say that he pressed charges on me because a therapist told him to.
right. Yeah, that's how abusers believe. I wouldn't have had to hit my wife if she had just made my dinner. Now, I scrolled through the article, but the article was actually done a little bit before a final custody order. But you know what the custody arrangement is, even though you're 16. What is the final custody arrangement?
Well, the judge ordered after I talked to her and everything, and they ordered that I have to go to reunification therapy with Dr. Backs.
Hmm.
And my dad gets all my like psychological rights, so he gets to make decisions about my therapist,
Hmm.
things like that. He got all rights to my little sister,
Psychological.
psychological. Yeah. He now gets like almost all the time with her. He pulled her out of her school. She now has to go to some other school that he enrolled her in.
Hmm.
So he basically has all of her rights and he has my
But
like
where do you live?
I live with my mom.
All right, so you contacted me. Why did you contact me?
Well, I saw, this is like these sessions that I have to go through and all of this, it's like no one's listening to me. Like I talked to the judge, I've tried talking to the social worker at school, I've tried talking to anyone I can, my dad fired my therapist. There's
All
like,
right. Now, before I get to the question, I really want to ask: does your dad know that you're talking to me?
no,
Does your mom know?
no,
You did this on your own. What you're telling me is this whole system is designed to protect you, and no one would listen to you but me.
yes.
All right. Now, you had a therapist that you liked. If you want to give the therapist's name, go ahead. But more importantly, did you find the therapist? Why did you like that therapist? And then what happened to the therapist?
So this was right after I got out of like a IOP program, like an intensive program after I had gone back from residential.
Mhm.
And the therapist I was seeing there was like only designated for that program, so I had to find a new individual therapist. Um, and I told my mom, I was like, I do not want an old therapist. I want a really young therapist. And I remember seeing her and she's older, she has kids and everything. Um and I remember talking to her and I remember telling her I was like, I want to focus on my school because I was going to a brand new public school for the first time. I'd never been to public school. And I mean, honestly, after the first like session, I feel like I was really reluctant and I feel like we just hit it off. And I mean, for the next year, she was like the closest person I had in my life.
Okay, now I'm going to scroll through a declaration you recently filed. You're 16 again. You filed this with the court, but what happened to that therapist? You were making progress. What happened to the therapist?
Well, that my dad, after he got the rights, like about a month after, he fired her. A large reason was that he said that if I was really doing better, then I would want a relationship with him. And since she couldn't force me to have a relationship with him, he just decided to fire her.
All right, and he can fire her because he has medical rights, I think is the way they describe it. And what I'm getting up is this declaration that we'll go through, and then he got a reunification therapist. Am I right? For you?
Yes.
That's and what is this therapist's name?
Dr. Norma Jo Backs.
Okay, now this therapist was court ordered. Okay, so we're going to play a little bit of the therapist, but before then, just describe her and how many times have you seen her and what are your thoughts about her?
I've seen her about every week since June for 2.5 hour sessions.
That's a long
Sometimes
time. Are you feeling better?
no,
You're
worse.
feeling worse. Why are
Yeah.
you feeling worse?
Reunification therapists are supposed to be middle. She will like have conversations with my dad, and then they'll like plan these conversations. She'll try to coerce me to have a relationship with my dad. She does not listen to how I'm feeling. It's all about her and my
All
dad's
right,
feelings.
now you described this incident from 3 years ago to me. What happened when you described it to her?
I mean, she really didn't have any emotion. And when I said that this is not why I want a relationship and that I have boundaries, and she said, well, you can get over things like that. Or, in our last session, she talked about it's not about even like hashing over old things and getting through old problems. It's just about repairing the relationship. And I
Mhm,
said, well, how can we repair a relationship? Well, first of all, there is no relationship. So what are we repairing?
mhm.
And also, second of all, what he did, if I can't get past that, how are we supposed to repair a relationship?
Right. So she just thinks you should just move on with things and just get on with having a good relationship with your dad, regardless of what happened.
Right.
This
And
is norm. Would you go to her if you had the choice, if this was a choice?
no, I would walk out every single session. I would even show up.
Right. Now she said something about coercion at the last session. You gave me the quote. What did she describe it as?
She said coercion is a normal part of reunification therapy.
Coercion is a normal part of unification. How did that come up? What did you say to her for her to say that coercion is a normal part of reunification therapy?
I had wrote her a letter
Mhm.
saying that, talking about how I feel about her, and I gave her examples and stuff, and I used the word coercion, how both her and my dad are
Are
coercing
coer
me.
to go.
And she said that's normal in therapy.
Right. In her therapy. All right. So we're gonna
Right.
we're gonna play just a couple of minutes of this so-called therapy and then we'll talk a little bit more about it.
November 22nd, 2 weeks from
What is in the order specifically?
So on the sibling's actual birthday, the parent who is not in possession can pick the child from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the birthday, and the child's sibling also comes as well. So for Cecilia's birthday, Amelia would come as well from 6 to 8.
Gotta get this coat on, right? All right, good. Ready to go. All right, let's go.
Yes, and the order is just, it's not a decision, it just is that the child comes and the sibling.
All right. And it goes on like that. Now, your dad is in this session. Is that your idea? Whose idea was it to put your dad in the session?
Dr. Bax.
And they're talking about the order, I heard. He's describing why are they talking about an order in a therapy session?
because I said that I didn't want to go see my dad, and they were talking about how that there's an order that I have to, and if I don't, my mom will be in contempt and could go back to jail or could go to jail.
So they are describing the order to you in order to coerce you to continue by saying that if you don't go, your mom may go to jail for contempt. This is her this is her idea of therapy. Am I
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
your dad is going along with this as well, right?
I mean, if you really listen to it, it's like she's asking questions he knows the answers to, like weirdly.
And how do you feel with them? There's two of them, and then there's you. How does that make you feel in the sessions? Do you
I
feel
mean,
intimidated?
yes. I think a lot of times I do feel intimidated. I feel like very isolated because I feel like a lot of people don't listen to kids, you know, they're gonna listen to my dad's a lawyer,
Adult.
a lawyer
Right,
and a therapist.
right. So what you feel like is that your dad's a lawyer and this lady Backs know more about what's best for you than you, right?
Exactly.
And that's how the system treats you. And your sister, so you have a sister, an older sister is over 18. For those who don't know, that means she's aged out is the term. So your dad has no control over her. Your older sister, what sort of relationship does she have with her dad?
None. He's blocked on her phone. She doesn't talk to him.
Right.
She's
And that's
talking
what's gonna,
weird.
is that what's gonna happen when you're 18?
Yes. I mean, he still
Okay.
tries to control her life.
How?
Well, I mean, I think he will he showed up to her graduation when she was
hmm
18 and she told him he wasn't allowed to.
hmm
She wanted to get my mom's like maiden last name, so not Martinez. She wanted to get Sproul on
hmm
her diploma, her high school diploma. He called the school and screamed at them and made her get his last name as her diploma.
hmm
He'll repeatedly try and send her messages, things
hmm
like that. He asked my mom to like ask Isabel for her address at college. Isabel said no.
hmm
I mean, even like a couple of years ago, he photoshopped Isabel and I's faces onto his Christmas card.
hmm Okay.
So
The court has ruled in your dad's favor because they're saying your mom alienates you from your dad. What the court is saying, all of this is happening because of your mom. What do you say to that?
first of all, I think alienation is a bullshit term, but I mean, the reason that I don't want a relationship with my dad, or the reason that my older sister doesn't, has nothing to do with anything that happened with my mom or my dad. It's all things that he's done to me. And
hmm
I've said that so many times. I mean, in this therapy sessions, it's just me at the very beginning when I would, you know, talk a lot about how I felt and stuff. It was all me describing horrible things he's done to me. And I said, these are why I don't want a relationship with you.
Right. And the therapist doesn't care. And then your dad is basically given free rein. He doesn't ever have to account for any of the things he's done. Has your dad ever said bad things about your mom to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you also referenced this in your article. I used to hate my mom when my parents first got separated because he would tell us that my mom is trying to keep us away from him and all of these stuff. And I hated my mom for that. And even now in these sessions, he was looking up people like my mom and her fiance and everyone in our family on the internet.
hmm
My mom's friend had made a GoFundMe
hmm
and he was saying, Amelia, don't you care that your picture is out there and aren't you mad at your mom and blah, blah, blah. And he
Right.
will
Right.
like my mom into
You,
these things.
your picture is out there. No matter what? Doesn't just because she puts up a GoFundMe doesn't mean that your picture isn't somewhere on the internet anyway.
And also
Uh,
you didn't even put up the GoFundMe.
right. Okay. And anything else you wanted to add?
Um, no. Do you have any more questions for me?
No, that's it. All right. I think unless you've got anything else, let's finish it here.
Okay.